Welcome back, 9:21. So new this morning, disgraced former U.S. gymnastics doctor Larry Nassar has been sentenced up to 125 years in prison again. In all, more than 250 gymnasts have been accusing Nassar of sexual assault. And this new sentence is in addition to two other sentences he already faces. So we're talking a total of up to 360 years. And a lot of victims. So this has also started a much needed conversation, something that can be really tough to talk about. But parents now are realizing more than ever that families need to be learning about sexual abuse, how to report it, how to talk about it, how to recognize it. So we're going to do that this morning. Our medical expert, Dr. Elizabeth Mead, is here to help us with starting these really important conversations. Good morning.
Good morning.
So this can be, I feel like, for parents and kids, it can be intimidating to talk about this. It can be maybe a little scary. How do parents get the ball rolling and navigate their way through this conversation?
It can be really intimidating.
Yeah.
I think it can feel very uncomfortable, even for parents and
Right.
kids, maybe especially for parents and
Yeah.
kids. But the most important thing is to really start talking about it early in a way that's age appropriate, and we can talk about what that means a little bit more. And then always to tell your kids that if anything ever happens to them, you are a safe place to come and to disclose that to, and that you will believe them and you will help them.
I think that's really important that you brought that up. We will believe you.
Yeah.
Because you're mentioning that if you don't believe someone who's coming forward with their story of sexual abuse, that can be even more trauma than they've already faced.
Right, exactly. So I think, there are people and kids even who make false accusations or make accusations where they think something's bad is happening and it turns out to be okay. But the most important first thing you can say to someone is, I believe you and we're going to get to the bottom of this. I think with kids in particular, but really with anybody who's been sexually victimized, there's an initial trauma of the abuse happening, and then there's really a secondary trauma if you disclose that to someone and they don't believe you or they don't do anything about it.
So let me ask you, you're a doctor, you're a pediatrician. Is there ever a space for your family pediatrician to be part of this conversation? How are they part of it when it comes to talking about sexual abuse?
Absolutely. So that's one of the first places that I encourage parents to call if they have a concern or a question about it. Your pediatrician and your family doctor can really help you navigate that discussion with your child and also help refer you to appropriate other places where you may need to report it. You can also always go to the police, or you can make a phone call to Child Protective Services as well.
Now, at what age do parents and kids need to start having these conversations? And then as the child gets older, how does that conversation change?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of different layers of this. I think it's something we should be talking about with our kids early and often, because we want these topics to be something that kids feel comfortable coming to us if they have questions or concerns about, right? So for little kids, we say, teaching them proper parts of our body and the right names for those things, making it a comfortable topic that they know they can discuss with you, and then talking about which parts of your body are more private, but still making it open to talk about that within the family, so that if something ever happens, kids feel like they can come to you.
Right.
So that's for little kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think as kids get older, you can be a lot more specific and explicit about what's okay, what's not okay, what they need to be concerned about. And then with teenagers, that dating sexual violence conversation is a whole different thing. So that's something that you want to talk about with your kids before they ever start entering into romantic relationships.
So when it comes to reporting sexual abuse or recognizing it, especially parents, what do they need to be on the lookout for?
Yeah, so some kids won't have any signs at all, but lots of kids will exhibit behavioral changes. So they may start to withdraw from family or friends. There may be a specific situation that they're really fearful about. So going to school or daycare, going to the doctor, going to see a certain person in the neighborhood. If those things are happening, you really need to start investigating it. And then lots of other kids will just have behavioral changes. So outbursts, they may have grades falling in school, signs that something is not going well. And whenever that happens with kids, we need to really figure out what the reason is.
This is such an important conversation. I'm so glad we could have you on to talk about this because I think this Larry Nassar thing has brought up, we don't want this happening to our kids.
We don't. And when we look at national data, about 8% of kids report that they've had sexual victimization at some point, but it's way underreported.
Right.
So it's 8% of people that are saying, yes, this happened to me when I was a child, and then probably a lot more that don't want to disclose it or talk about it. So this is really, unfortunately, more common than we would like. So having those conversations early and letting your kids know what's okay and what's not is really important.
It really is. Dr. Mead, thank you so much for being with us this morning. Really appreciate it.